Okay, hey, Terje, it's Gary. We're live now. And for everybody listening to this recording, this is Gary Wilson with the Investor Agent Training Program. And I've got Terje Rogne on the phone. It's Terje. Last name is Rogne. Uh, he's a famous Norwegian, come down to the States here, and he's kicking some major butt in the world of real estate brokerage and investing. So first off, Terje, I just want to say thank you for doing this. The reason I've been wanting to do this for months, and I just have been so busy traveling. I thought, you know what, I just need to make it easy. Let's do a freeconferencecall.com. Do it audio only, so it's easier for people to get a hold of and listen and record it and whatever. Instead of trying to do the audio video thing and make it too formal, it's just too difficult to do. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And hopefully you've got a few minutes. It could be 15 minutes, could be a half hour. We'll just see how the conversation goes. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. No problem, Gary. It's glad to be with you. And hey, no problem for you. You've done so much for me, so I'm definitely here to answer any questions you have. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Why don't we just start a little bit with like where you are right now. When you and I first knew each other, you were an investor. You were my student, and then years later, you heard me talk about this, and you mentioned it a few times. We went out and had a couple beers, and you were asking me about getting your license, and I think that was probably over a year ago, wasn't it? Had to be over a year ago.
Yes, it was. It was probably winter of 2013, exactly.
Wow. Okay. Well, tell everybody a little bit. Most people they're just interested to know, like, how you got started, why did you get your license, what you saw in it that enticed you to get into it, and then we'll get into like what you're doing now. Because a lot of times the way life plays out, you don't actually get what you want, but you get what you need. Number one. Number two is you actually get a lot more than you thought you originally were going to get. If you just open up your arms and your heart and your mind and listen and observe. So if you mind kind of stepping back and giving people a little bit of a, hey, this is how why I originally got started in this?
Yeah, I can first mention why I got started actually in investing, and there again, I'm really glad that I met you through those channels and back then. But yeah, I moved here from California 12 years ago or so, and I've always wanted to start investing and maybe even get a real estate license, things of that nature, but mainly investing. And mainly, I always felt that the best way for me to retire, either early or well off, was obviously to get into the real estate business. But it was about a little over a year ago when I decided that, hey, I think after I'd been investing with Gary was actually my mentor and my realtor, and helped me purchase quite a few properties early on. And about a year ago or so, I thought, you know what, I'd like to take it a step further. And my main thing was I like to help people. I like to teach. I like to help people. And I felt that, boy, hey, I'm already an investor. I already understand it. I know what I'm doing. I learned so much on my own and with Gary, Gary Wilson, that is, that I thought, I think it's probably time to get my license. So as Gary mentioned, I decided that one day we met up and I talked to him and I said, I think I'm going to get my license, which I did. And I did receive my license last winter, November, December, in that range. And I've taken classes with Gary before in the past, but this new class that he mentioned sounded very interesting, which was the investor agent class. And I said, boy, that would be a great addition along with me, passing my test and getting my license, which I did there last winter. And at that point, I said, boy, I can really help people at this point. I can really help people learn about investing, and hopefully they'll use me as their realtor and so on. And it's kind of taken off since then. I mean, with Gary's classes that I took, I believe it was, what was it, Gary? Was it seven classes in that course, the investor agent class?
It was actually that time. Actually, I just added a fifth module. We're up to 6 modules now. So when you took it right before, you were the second beta test. Before that, it was 4 modules. With your class, it was 5 modules, and then now it's a full-blown 6. Actually, we just added a 7th one recently to add all the tax strategies for people.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I took that class probably, like I said, I think I finished it up in November or so. Got my license just a month before that or so. But the class, this class here, I thought was very, very good. I mean, it was very exciting for me to take this class. Other classes that I've taken with him were, are fantastic also, but this one, really, there was so much information. This class, Gary's classes are so informative and inspirational also. That's the key. That's what I loved about your classes, Gary. They're very inspirational. And the format was easy to follow. I mean, it was very simple to follow, and I mean, you provide all the tools, all the information that you need to be successful. And I'm here to tell you that I've been very successful, and I still am. I mean, to give you an example, I think 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks before we completed the class or the whole course that I actually secured two buyers. Actually, I had two buyers at that point before the class was even over. And one I mentioned this to you, Gary. One had $1.2 million cash to purchase investment properties. So that was I almost flew out of my shoes there. That was pretty exciting. I said, oh my God. And then there was another one also, and that was through networking. There's many different tools and avenues you can take that Gary has taught me over the course of the classes and so on. But that was really the start of it right there. That's what really got me going.
Well, we'll tell you, Terry, and when I teach this at the market centers around the country, sometimes I'll mention you specifically because I want to attract brand new agents, and a couple things about you that really stand out is you literally were brand new. You were taking your licensing classes while you were taking this training program, and you got your actual license itself a week before we finished our last module. And I invited you to an investor forum where I was speaking, and lo and behold, and the next week was Christmas. And I remember you calling me, and you had that one buyer with 1.2 or 1.3 million. You got another one, and then you also got through that one investor five listings. I mean, you just were literally a week out of class. The last module, you had two buyers, and I think five listings, and it took a couple weeks for you to nail them all down. But essentially, that's what you did, just by coming along with me to come to a local investor forum that I was speaking at.
Exactly. Not along with that $1.2 million cash investor and the other investor buyer that I had met that same week. I was pretty much overwhelmed with the amount of work I had at that point. I mean, I had within the first 3 to 4 weeks, probably 3 weeks after the class, after I completed the course, I had 4 buyers and 5 listings, and the strange thing was, this was January, so this was the time that supposedly was supposed to be very slow. It was a slow time for agents, and I wasn't slow. I was probably the busiest one that I know of. I was going to meetings and things with my company, Keller Williams, and everybody was saying how slow they were. They weren't busy. I was so busy that I was pretty much overwhelmed. But that's a good thing. You learn quickly and you can move on.
Well, I remember you calling me, and I forget where I was. I think I was teaching in Virginia at the time. Maybe I was out in Philadelphia or Delaware. But I remember you got on the phone with me, and you. Another thing too that I want people to really understand here is, I give them my cell phone number at these Keller Williams classes I teach free for 1.5 to 2 hours, and I think people are just not sure what to do with that. Like, why is this guy giving me his number? But it's because I really do have conversations with people. Actually, you guys get to know me, and I get to know you. And the funny thing is, I remember your comment was back to the original point here. You said, hey, Gary, people in the office are coming to me asking me how I'm doing this. Veterans, well, how are you? You're brand new. How are you doing this? And I can't emphasize enough, when you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to get diluted results. You can't do what everybody else is doing. 95% of all the agents are going after the same transactions. There's not enough to go around. You do this stuff, all of a sudden it's like you're out there on a baseball field It's just you and a pitcher, and he's throwing slow pitches, and you're hitting him out of the park. That's what it
that's
feels like. It's like
that's good.
operating in a vacuum, you know?
That's a good analogy right there. Yeah, well, I can tell you right now. You probably don't know this, but I haven't even used I haven't even used half of your techniques. I mean, I've been so busy as it is, just networking and obtaining that the CD and regarding owners of properties and so on in this area to contact them as far as gaining their listings and so on. I haven't used even half of the techniques. There's so much more.
Yeah.
And I'm new. I'm still new at this. It's only been I've had my license now for just over half a year, and it's great now. But I can imagine how it's going to be next year. Really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's a good point too. Is it's the funny thing is I do teach multiple techniques, but the reality is you could just execute one or two techniques on a consistent basis
Right.
that complement each other, and you won't have to do anything else.
Exactly.
You know. So,
Exactly.
well, let me ask you this. You've got so you're out there in the world now. A couple of people I can hear them now. They're going to say, "Well, Terry's able to do it because he was already an investor." But here's the point I want to make about that. If you think back to Terry when I taught you how to invest, you know how other agents are used to working with owner occupants, and so they're used to doing everything themselves, and they get treated. Agent gets treated like a commodity because there's a million agents out there. But if you think back on it, I didn't do all the work for you, did I? I gave you the listings. I gave you the tools to use to do the analysis and the techniques and the spreadsheets. So when you were going through that, now I want you to put your consumer hat on. You're the consumer. You're the investor going through this. So let's say there's other agents out there now going through the investor agent training program, and they're wondering how is it they're going to get these clients to do this stuff? You know, with you were just one of literally hundreds of my clients that I did this with. You know, I gave you the tools, I gave you the information, I gave you the listings, I gave you everything that possibly you could need to be successful, and it didn't make it seem like so all of a sudden you don't need me. It created a bond. We actually created a relationship, and I consider you a good friend now. I mean, you and Diana and that's one of the intangible benefits of this business is I've developed so many friendships out of doing this. But back to the original point, compared to the traditional real estate model, what can you tell people about the way this works and how you work with investors, and use your own example with me when I was the investor agent and you were my client. And I just gave you a few basic things to use on your own, and you did it. And you did exactly what I'm telling these people they should be doing too with their clients, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, I think the biggest thing for me was the belief. I mean, the way you structure the program, I feel that it can be done with no problem. It's just the belief that, hey, you can do it. I just felt that I can really go out there and do this. I mean, another thing that I wanted to point out during your course in the classes, I mean, if you had a question that maybe you thought of after the fact, after the class, and you said, oh, boy, I should ask them that, I should ask them this. Well, just go ahead and jot it down and send an email. I sent an email to you, and you would address that in the next course with the group. I mean, so as far as communicating with you, that was fantastic. That was easy. But as far as for me, I mean, I never even owned a property until I moved here to the Pittsburgh area, and I was 40 years old. It was just so expensive out in California. I thought I couldn't even, rehab a property, and I just pretty much figured it out. It was fairly simple. I mean, with a lot of help from others. Of course, you always have to, use help from others. But it was the biggest thing I believe was the belief to do it. And there's so many different, as I mentioned, techniques that you can use that I believe really gives you that confidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That belief is so important. That's one of the things I emphasize too in these classes that I teach at the market centers. And it wasn't anything that's intended in the routine that I'm going through and the components I'm showing them, but it came up as a result of me telling them one of my own life's experiences and how I was able to actually figure out that I can do this on a large scale. And it's when I broke my back, and I'm sitting there in the hospital, thinking, what am I going to do now? I don't have a plan B. I don't have disability insurance. I don't have a regular W-2 job. I didn't have a choice. I had to make it work, and I just did it. I just tried it, and I did it, and it worked like a charm. I never got any kickback from the clients because I was always finding new clients, and they were thrilled that I was actually giving them this stuff. But in any case, the third night in, the doctor showed up, and we through an hour-long conversation, he got to know me a little bit better because when he first met me, of course, I was pretty much out, and I was not
Right.
not coherent. And so in any case,
Right.
one of the things he told me that night was, he actually said, "Do you believe that you'll walk again?" And this is a really dramatic example, but you know, through the course of the conversation, I realized, what choice do I have? What have I got to lose other than to believe that I will walk again? And lo and behold, 6 months later, I wasn't just walking. I went on a backpacking trip with my Boy Scouts. But it all started with that belief, and I try to emphasize that with people in a way that seems real to them. But in my heart, I know it is so vitally important, and I could really get dramatic with them if I wanted to, because it was a dramatic experience that I went through. But that belief, I kind of tone it down because I want them to see that it's not just theory, pie in the sky, um, you know, woo-woo type stuff like this guy's really from outer space. No, this is real world stuff, and it all starts with belief. You got to develop the thought patterns to support your belief systems, and when you have systems in place that you can use, practical things that you can use to tie yourself down to the real world, real people, real transactions, that all that does is that supports what you believe. And I can tell you, people like you,
Right.
Terry, the reason I love this interview with you is you really are out there doing it. I mean, every time I talk to you, you're freaking busy. You're not sitting
Right.
around wondering where your next client's coming from. Your problem is, I'm willing to bet right now. I bet you tell me if this is the truth. I bet you probably feel like you're too busy. I bet Diane is wondering what the heck happened to my husband. He's
Yeah, well,
you know.
I'll tell you. Yeah, that's a good point because it's funny. I used to probably send out maybe 10 emails a week before, and now I'm probably doing 15, 20 a day. And I think, believe it or not, which isn't good news. It's good overall to be busy, but I actually found out that I have carpal tunnel because
Oh wow.
I'm doing so much typing, sending so much information out, and that's a great thing. It's good that I'm busy. I'm just not used to it. That's why it's exciting, to be that busy. But I wanted to point out too that also, in during your course there was so many websites and so much information that it was easily understandable and obtainable, and I think that's what really made a huge difference too. And I know that a lot of the other agents, the normal owner occupied agents, they don't know about these websites. There's just so many websites that you can go to, and you get so much information. So you have, it's like you have an arsenal of information, whereas the average agent, does not have. That's another
Right.
huge part of the whole equation here.
It
You
does.
know?
It sets you apart. I mean, it's just and the thing is, it's when you're out there operating like you are, and you go into the office for a team meeting or something. I know you just, because I used to do the same thing. I was sitting back and just shake my head. I'm listening to these people week in and week out saying the same things, moaning and groaning, griping, and they're all out there. It's like the sheep, all doing the same thing and getting the
Hmm.
same results. And I like what Warren Buffett says. When everybody's going left, I'm going right. You know,
Right.
and my whole life has been like, my mom used to tell me that when I was a kid. She said, "You're the funniest little guy." She said, "Everybody would go left and you go right." But you know what? I I I, I I choose that on purpose, and I've learned from experience. Um, it doesn't take much to separate yourself from someone else. As a matter of fact, I'm probably the least likely candidate of all these people that I'm teaching to have the success I had because of my background. I didn't even have a
Right.
sales background. But the thing is, I was willing to put one foot in front of the other, and that's one thing I like about you, Terry, is I knew that you would take to this and really do well because you do put one foot in front of the other. You actually roll up your sleeves and you take action. It's like the military guys. I love working with military guys because they don't question anything. They just do
Well,
it. They just
yeah,
freaking just take the system and execute.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, and the funny thing is, you don't. I mean, you don't have to be super motivated too. I mean, I mean, I am. I'm motivated anyway. I'm self-motivated, but you don't have to be super, super motivated. I mean, you have to get up and get out there and go. But I mean, I think to me, at this point, it's almost fairly simple. I mean, if you just use some of these techniques,
Yep.
you're going to be in great shape. I mean, it's pretty amazing stuff. And even right now, I mean, as of just yesterday, I have two more deals that I believe well, they're not closed, obviously, but I've come to an agreement on one of my listings, and I've come to an agreement the same day for one of my buyers. So that's pretty exciting stuff. I mean,
It is.
to have two at one time like that, continuing on. So, and like I said, I haven't even used not even half. I haven't used half of the techniques, and I just can't wait to really get rolling when I really get a little more experience. I mean, I feel like I'm very experienced now. I'm a 6-month agent out there, and I believe that I'm looking at the people around me in the office and so on that have 2 or 3 years experience. I believe I'm equal to them or even have more knowledge and doing better than they are. So I feel like I'm a 3-year agent after 6 months. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you are. It's evident in the numbers. And I do. The funny thing is, because in Keller Williams, we can check on any numbers in any office anywhere, and we put our productivity up on the board for everybody to see. So I'm actually able to track agents, and I do that. I don't get to track everybody all the time, but like I'm going back to California. I'm having dinner with one of the team leaders when I'm out there in 2 weeks, and she already knows. We're going to be talking about her agents and productivity and performance. So I know who to follow up with. But here's one thing I want to ask you, Terry. I get this a lot in these classes I teach at the Market Center. Why don't I don't own anything. I've never invested before. How am I going to be able to go out there and support these clients? Well, the reality is the stuff that I teach in the investor agent class, there's 2 parts. One part is what you do when you're investing, and the other part is what you do when you're playing the role of an agent and what marketing you need to do. So I teach you all the marketing stuff, which was new to you because you were a new licensee and you went through the program. But all the stuff that I taught about, how do you actually analyze rentals, how do you analyze flips, giving them the calculators, isn't that exactly the same stuff I give to my investors? And if you never invested before in your life, Terry, and I know you had a few properties, you weren't like a Donald Trump, do you feel like you could go out there as a brand new licensee, having gone through the program, learning those tools, because learning the investor tools is really only one module. The rest of it is about how do you actually operate and handle yourself with the clients. I mean, tell me a little bit about that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've taken classes with you in the past, and I have experience and so on in investing, just investing on my own. But and it was great to go over a lot of those items again. I mean, but you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to be an investor at all. I mean, I just, for me, it was great to go over a lot of it, but I did gain a lot of new information also. But I feel that if you're not an investor and you're an agent, you will learn so much about investing. And sometimes I look at it like, boy, I wish I wouldn't have spent that money in the past on those other classes, because you covered a lot of that in this investor agent class, which, I mean, it's not just for the agent. I mean, it covers both investing and the agent portion of it. And I think that's very important. But you have to have one with the other. I mean, and you cover both those, which I thought was great.
Well, it's a unique program, and the results we're getting are just absolutely phenomenal. But I find myself doing this on these calls too. I find myself really getting excited about the program. But what I want to do is I want to have you just take a moment, for the sake of all the other students out there, if you can think of one thing that you can tell them or share with them that would help them get to a higher level tomorrow. I don't know when Beverly's going to get this out, but as soon as they hear it, I want them to be able to say, man, I just heard Terry Rodney do this. I know I can do that. And I'm going to go out and do whatever that is, something that you think really that you want to share with them. If you had a room full of them in front of you, it could be philosophical, it could be, anything. What would that be?
A room full of agents, licensed agents, you mean?
Yeah, if you had a room full of new agents, like they were sitting here, listen, they just heard me talk, and they're sitting there, man, it sounds really good. Is it really that simple? What could you tell them? Like, what can they go out and do that day to try something to test it, make sure it works, or or get on the phone, call somebody, or like the believing in themselves. I mean, a lot of these people, I want to wake up with them at their kitchen table and walk them through their day because I know that they can do it. I know that's not
Right.
practical, but it's frustrating for me because it's so obvious, and I see success every day in every market. I mean, we're doing this in California. In fact, it's been so good out there. I've been invited back, and you can imagine some of the techniques I teach. They need these techniques out in California,
Right.
and
I
in
mean,
places like Boston too, for that matter. They're high priced too, and they need stuff like that. So, in any case, sorry to ramble on. What would you share with them if you had people saying, "Hey, Terry, I want to be like you," or something like that? What would you say?
well, I mean, there's techniques, but the first thing I'll go back to belief. You have to have belief and be open-minded. I mean, if you're in this course, just just really take it in, and it's not that tough to do. But beyond that, belief, and just you have to get up and go. You don't have to run yourself ragged at all, but just get out there and believe and move forward. But for me, the biggest thing I learned for me it was networking. I mean, you have to get out there and talk to people. I spent a lot of time in Keller Williams early on. Early on, just 6 months ago. In classes on Monday and Wednesday. Every Monday and Wednesday, probably 3 hours each time, learning technology, this and that, and all the software and so on. And West Penn multi-list, that's important stuff. But you have to actually get out there and talk to people. That's the most important thing. When I started, that's where all my first success came from, was networking. I went out there and I joined some groups. I joined
Mm-hmm.
some real estate groups, and I even joined a cooking group,
All right.
which is unbelievable. It's I'm kind of a semi gourmet chef, at least I feel I am. But
I know you are.
I went out there and joined a group, and I have quite a few people there that that I believe are going to list their properties. So I mean, you just need to get out there and talk to people, and sending out maybe flyers and things like that. It's all well and good, but you need to get out there and actually see people face to face. And if you're even just semi-personable, I mean, it works. It really does work, and that's what I learned from you. I had never even really thought about going out there and talking to people and joining groups, and you encouraged me to do that, and I can tell you, and I'm proof of it, that is the best thing I ever did.
Yep. You don't have to do internet lead generating. You don't have to do postcard campaigns, because let's face it, that's a hard way to make a living. When you actually interface with people directly and relate to them, ask them a few questions, listen, that's how you build a relationship, and that's where the money comes from. It's a
Right.
relationship business. So all my techniques are designed to focus directly on the relationship. None of this pie in the sky stuff. It takes up all the time, and money too, for that matter. This stuff,
Right.
none of it. Matter of fact, how much money would you say you spent on marketing since you started, since Christmas time?
Pretty much zero.
That's what I tell people in these classes, and I can see them. I mean, they're looking at me like, man, I'm spending hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars on these lead generating things every month, and they're getting a handful, one or two transactions. Here it is, you're telling them, you're getting guys with millions of dollars in multiple listings at a crack, and you haven't spent one dime. That I hope that if nothing else, people get that out of this interview here.
Yeah, that's definitely important. I mean, you don't have to, like, that's one of the things I was thinking about too. Probably maybe halfway through the course, I was thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna have to spend thousands on flyers and mailers before I even get one customer and make a penny. I said, I can't spend thousands of dollars, on mailers when I haven't even got my first client. I said,
Right.
boy, that's gonna be a little tricky there. But I mean, there are things that you can do. Of course, if things start to slow down, you can, spend a few bucks on some stamps and things like that. But you've helped me in that area too, as far as helping me with to write up letters and things like that, and to send out to owners of properties and things, and just actually focus on one targeted area, which will generate obviously a larger return than the normal real estate agent that gets maybe 1 or 2%, right, on
Yep.
returns. So.
Yep. Yeah,
So.
it's pathetic. I mean, we're getting conversion rates at 15 and 18% on our activities, and the traditional stuff's returning at 2%. You know.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty low. Right.
Yeah. But that's what now here, just to clarify things for people or qualify things, all those other techniques, you almost have to do those with owner occupants. It's just a sad reality with that part of the business. But that's why I like the investor businesses. You don't have to use those techniques. You can use very highly specifically targeted techniques that save you a ton of money, and you go after the right kind of people with the right message. It's really, message, understanding your market, give them the right message and the method of delivery. And
right.
I got those three things nailed down tight. If there's anything I can say about myself, I'd say I've got that down to a science. I mean, I literally can spend multiple tops on autopilot, spending very few dollars, and get ample returns. You can't
exactly. I mean, you'll actually. I'm sorry. You'll actually. Yeah. Like I said, even if you're not an investor, you'll actually in this program you'll actually learn enough about them that you can target them, which is what we do. We target the owners of investment properties, and that really helps right there. Definitely.
Yep. That's right. So. Okay, well, Terry, I really appreciate your time. It's about 20 to 9 here, and I know it's Sunday night, and I've got to get myself ready for tomorrow. I got a busy, crazy week up here,
right.
And then Friday and Saturday I've got some other stuff I'm working on as far as infrastructure. We're going to continually improving the program, and we're going to automate some stuff online as far as course delivery goes, and It's all free to anybody who's ever been through the program. It doesn't cost them another dime. It's all part of you. Once you're in for life. In fact,
great.
If you notice, Terry, everything we've done, we never charge you. There's no other. It's not like you get in at level A and then you got to spend more money for level B. When you're in, you're in. And what you see is what you get. You pay one price. You get all the coaching you want. That's why it's so successful.
Exactly. I'd just like to, if I can just make a statement before we finish up here, and I do appreciate the call. I just want to say that I'm just a small guy here, and I'm building up, and I'm hoping to really build up and help people, and that's what I really like to do. But to me, it's not just proven with others, but to me, this is a proven program, and I am proof of that because like I said, I moved here 12 years ago, got into the business 2007, 8 or so, and never even painted a house, let alone remodeling and investing, and now an agent and doing very well at that. I just want to say that meeting Gary and taking his classes, and it really has changed my life, and I believe it will change yours also. And I thank everybody for listening.
Well, I appreciate that, Terry. You're a pretty good guy, and you've mentioned a couple key words and phrases that ring true with my heart, and that is serving. You love to serve others. You love teaching and helping others, and that's my daily mantra is to help, give, serve, and even heal whenever possible. That's my this vocation of teaching is my ministry, and we're all in this industry, real estate industry. So we're in an industry that actually aligns itself with us being servants. And just like Zig Ziglar said, I couldn't say it any better. If you just help enough other people get what they want, you'll be able to get plenty of what you want. And that's exactly what we're doing. You're helping people build wealth and income. As a result, you're building wealth and income,
Very true, very true. You got to give back,
That's it. Well, listen, tell Diana I said hello, and
sure.
Next time I'm in town, I'm certainly going to let you guys know well ahead of time, and love to come see you. And it's just stay in touch. I know you and I were touching bases last week, and that's another thing I like about this is I built a lot of friendships through this program, and you're a perfect example. And we communicate with each other, if not on a monthly basis, even more often than that. And it's usually transaction related. I mean, you can call, text, email. I know sometimes it takes me a day to get back, depending on where I am. But I always get back to
you're
people.
Pretty quick. You're pretty quick about it. I'm surprised. I don't know how you can do that because I'm sure there's many people, pulling you different directions. I'm sure,
Yeah. Well, I don't watch TV. That's
I'm sure of that. Well, when you get back down this way, you definitely have to come over, and we'll cook, get a steak on the grill, and we'll cook it up for you.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
All right, Terry.
All
You
right.
have yourself an awesome week coming up here. Get out there and knock 'em dead, and share some more experiences with us when you get them, when you rack up those commissions.
Definitely. No problem at all, and I appreciate it. And good talking to you. You have a good night, and you take care.
You too, Terry. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.